You are now tuned in to the Cosmic Convos podcast, your number one source for accurate, relevant, and thought-provoking astrological conversations in the podcast nation. The place where stars and minds align.
Peace, you're now tuned into the Cosmic Convos podcast. I'm your humble host, Herut, and we got the good brother over here, Brother Ra. How you doing?
Brother, enjoying life, brother. Staying busy, man. That's about it, man. You know, spending this knowledge out to the people. That's about it, King. What about yourself?
Hey, man, I'm on the same type of time, man. It's, we knocking out the second, short film. It's been very interesting, man. But I think this next one is gonna be special, indeed.
That's what's up, man. Well, it gets better. It gets greater later, man. It gets greater later. That's how it works.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. But before we get too far, I want to remind you all that this episode is brought to you by Push It Forward Media Group, Calipusha Astrology, and our good people over there on Patreon, our patrons. Like always, thank you all for the support. Thank you all for the feedback. And like I said, working that platform, man, it's been golden because we get to test out little things here and there and stuff like that, and people definitely give very valuable feedback. So they're just as a part of the production as Brother Ryan and myself are. So always a special shout out to you all. But you can find Push It Forward Media Group on Instagram at pushitforward.com. At Push It Forward, PUSHITFWD. You can also find us on the web at pushitforward.com, spelled the same way as the Instagram handle. Make sure you go, follow us there, hit up the website, and get your Jyotish, your Vedic astrology package up there too, or whatnot. Push It Forward on the Cosmic Convos link on there. You can get your chart and everything like that. And Brother Ra, how can the people get a hold of you?
Primarily calipushastrology@gmail.com. That's the best way to hit me up. Other than that, either IG, Facebook, one of those, via Shekhem Ra. That'll definitely get at me, but preferably the calipushastrology@gmail.
Indeed. Yeah, man. So this is a special episode, not just because of the topic that we're covering, but this is going to be the first episode that everyone gets the opportunity to actually see Brother Wa and myself on camera. All right, we've been doing it for the past, I think 3 weeks or so. Just posting them on Patreon, but this will be the first episode that you get to see us on camera. So this will be a different experience. We've been getting people asking that since we started. So this will be a good kind of trial out and stuff like that. And we always say, as time goes on, as we grow the podcast more, we get a deeper foundation in this whole industry and stuff like that. We'll be able to build and take the podcast to the next level. And who knows how we're going to be doing it next time. Maybe we try to get to the point to where we right in the same space every day at some point. You know what I mean? We got the paper to just say, take a trip here, take a trip there. Then when the COVID go away, maybe we go on tour, right?
That'll work.
Indeed. So, definitely hit us up and let us know what you think or whatnot, But yeah, back on the subject. Last episode, we got a real good response with that. They people, especially now in this time period and stuff like that, like people want to know what to do. Like,
Right.
look, I got all these different, ideas and options in my head. How do I know which, direction to go in? And we know it's a couple ways that you can go about that, but definitely astrology should definitely be, in your repertoire and trying to figure out how to make your next move your best move or whatnot. What's the feedback you've been getting on that last episode, brother?
Yeah, a lot of people have questions. One question answer begets another question, which is anticipated because that's what astrology does. But a lot of people do understand that. I got feedback from a sister, and she was sharing with me that she came to the realization that making a career choice is something that is destiny oriented, and you should really try to dig in deep instead of just doing something that you think you want to do and really understand what it is that your spirit is telling you to do. I said that's what astrology is all about, because a lot of times society, our family, our mate, our friends, all of those people will kind of have influence and bearing on some of the things that we think we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But when we put those things to the side and really understand the way we're built, what we're built for, and what we can handle, then we make the right decision. And so that's where astrology comes in and saying, hey, you know what? You might want to be the next Angela Bassett, right? And go for it, right? But in the meantime, you got to pay bills. And this is where you're better suited, right? So
Absolutely. I mean, you want to, you want to live life efficiently,
exactly.
right? You know what I mean? If you're gonna take your time, spend your money, maybe even, take time away from that you could be spending with your family, building this or building that. You want to make sure that you on the right track.
Exactly.
Indeed.
One thing we don't get back.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. But yeah, it's just a beautiful science. I don't make any major move without either, consulting some other, oracular, tools, and definitely with astrology. I don't make no major move without looking at those things and whatnot.
The wise don't, man. That's why they call them the three wise men, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we got to do. Maybe next season we'll do some shows getting into some biblical,
Oh man, that would be like 3 shows, bro. Easy, right? Easy. You already know.
Indeed.
You already know.
Indeed. So, getting into today's topic, we, the person that we're going to talk about today has been somebody who, posthumously has, ballooned into like a major kind of symbol, for a lot of different things, especially within the Black community and stuff like that, about, ownership and entrepreneurship and, your relationship to your community and different things like that. But I actually got turned on to him from a good friend of mine, brother named AT. What's up, AT? I know you checking in all the time and whatnot, but back in young hooligan days, right? He came. He had just got done, coming from Ohio or whatever, and he had put me on. He was like, man, this one this one rapper is the hardest rapper out right now. I was like, what? So I went and listened to him, and I understood why he said that, because they kind of remind me of each other.
Mm-hmm.
But in a lot of different ways, But he just was a guy, slow grinding and stuff like that. Definitely, had a rough upbringing and stuff like that, but also had some definitely had some high points about him and different things like that, which is why he's probably, he's gotten the attention that he's gotten, posthumously. And, it's right around the time, of his Earth Day or whatnot. So, we figured we'll go ahead and do this one now or whatnot. So, the brother that we're going to cover this episode is none other than Amrius Joseph Ashkadam, or, as we most of us know him as Nipsey Hussle. Right. And it's a very interesting chart indeed.
To say the least.
Yeah, it's deep in the science, and I, beyond just talking about Nipsey Hussle. This is this show is a real kind of case study, on like just how destiny unfolds sometimes. Would you agree?
Man, that's exactly what this is. When we have a good solid time and it's a solid chart, you can see so many things crystal clearly. And the funny thing is because, the unfortunate demise of this brother came about, but when those things do happen, when those things happen in a manner in the which it would happen, we're going to talk about that during the podcast. It's clear, it's like it's almost etched into the chart directly in front of you. You can't miss it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, that's why this is really a good example to use. Examples like John F. Kennedy, John Lennon, people that, had a very unfortunate demise, right? Malcolm X, we did Mal, right?
Yep.
You could see those. There has to be some interaction with certain things going on for certain other things to transpire, right? And it's clearly in the chart, right? With any question, without any doubt. So we're gonna definitely jump on into Hermes, right?
So since we flipping it a little different, I guess we'll try out this new little tool for the people real quick, right? Because we've gotten comments on this as well. So we'll show the chart, right?
There's Hermes.
Yes. Okay. So I know I'm not sure. I think we got about the same time, right?
Yeah, exact same time.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so you can see here, right? Nip is Aquarius ascendant, which is, in fact, doing my research, the rarest ascendant there is, right? The rarest of all the ascendants. People have done research, other astrologers. All comes back that Aquarius seems to be the rarity of the bunch, right?
Yeah.
And it makes sense because of the nature of what Aquarius really embodies, Aquarius is one of the signs that's very hard to figure out at first. It's not something that kind of walks up to you and says, this is what I am, this is who I am. Not like Aries does. Aries is like, hey, fighter, warrior, what you want to do? I'm, courageous, right? Aquarius is very different.
Yeah.
Because it's ruled by two planets, first of all. And I know people in the Western training of astrology, train of thought, see Uranus as the ruler. And if you say, but
okay.
We don't need that in this system. We have everything we need in regards to understanding the signs and their inherent nature without including the outer planets.
Yeah.
And so Aquarius is a it's a very curious and quirky sign, right? And quirky in the sense that it's hard to read. They're very hard to read individuals. The reason is because, again, you have a side that is very much looking towards structure, building, discipline, right? Order, right? law, right? And then you have a planet that's the very antithesis of this whole same, the primary ruler of Saturn, of Aquarius, which is Saturn. You have another planet which co-rules, which is Rahu, which is the very opposite of what Saturn stands for. Lawlessness, right? Um, chaoticness, doing things haphazardly, doing things by the seat of your pants, throwing caution to the wind.
Yeah.
And so this is why it's a very anomalous type of sign, because it has this kind of dual disposition where it seems to be very structured or disciplined in some way, and it can have some restraint, but then it doesn't have any restraint in the other time. So it's like, well, which are you, right? And remember, this is an air sign, so air is going to do that, right? Air is going to have that propensity to do just what it does. It changes velocity, it changes direction, right?
Yeah.
But it is fixed air, and fixed air is usually on this planet very tumultuous, right? In the sense of tornadoes, right?
Yeah.
Hurricanes, right?
Yeah.
And so, that quiet before the storm, you from the South, you've been in a hurricane. I mean, you've seen a tornado, I'm sure, a few, right? It's quiet,
Yeah.
dead quiet. And then all of a sudden, it's the loudest thing you're going to hear. And then afterward, it's even more quiet, right? That's the energy that the Aquarian nature has, right? Quiet, what happened, quiet, right? Because they come in with this very rebellious nature, right? Until they get older and wiser, which then Saturn can begin to mature the person into a different type of rebelliousness. Right? Then it becomes a beneficial type, but at first the youth has to be burnt off, right? Excuse me. And so they're fiercely independent, right? They can be very distant and close at the same time. They could be your best friend and then be the person that you don't hear from in a few years.
Yeah.
Both, right? Excuse me. Now, Aquarius, right, deals in groups, right? It deals in social structures, right? When we say structure, Saturn can deal in structures in regards to material items, material reality, right, which is more Capricorn, earth-based energy. And then you have social structures, which are based on ideas, right? Connection through the mind, connection through philosophy, connection through ideologies, right? And so he definitely demonstrated that in many ways. But one thing we do know, right, is that he was about the business of trying to incorporate those that don't have into those that have. Right?
Yeah.
And fighting for the underdog is one of the epithets of what the Aquarian energy produces, because it understands the Saturnian mass energy, the low man on the totem pole, but also understands trying to break the barriers, right, of what reality is through that Rahu energy.
Yeah.
And so it literally likes to see the masses as what they say, egalitarian or equal, right? There's things that are, everyone has a role, a position in society. There's no center with Aquarius. It's centerless. So that energy deals with people in a way and such that everybody has something to bring. Very, very friendly people, right? When I say friendly, not in the sense of like jovial, hey, let's go party, but friendly in the sense of they'll have a conversation, they'll build with you, they'll exchange ideas.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is how he was. As you can see, they're very intelligent people. It's one of the rarest signs, and they're extremely intelligent. Aquarius energies are extremely intelligent. Another Aquarian Aquarius is Deepak Chopra. Right, he's Aquarius. They're very rare. You don't really find them. Ramakrishna, most people don't know who he is. Aquarius ascendant, right? Very rare people. But nonetheless, there's a further kind of underlying layer with regards to the Aquarian energy. Remember, we look at things based on the constellations, and within those constellations, star patterns called nakshatras, right?
Yeah.
Well, his
Purva
his
Bhadrapada.
ascendant is at 22 degrees, right? Aquarius, which is Purva Bhadrapada. Purva Bhadrapada is kind of the bad boy on the block, right? Other than Jayesta, right? And Shasta Bishak, right? Purva Bhadrapada is an energy that is, they say, two-faced,
Mm-hmm.
right? It displays a very controlled, disciplined, fearless side, but they can be torrential. They can be downright demonic to some degree, meaning relentless in approach and getting something acquired. In fact, a lot of energy that surrounds it can be kind of compared to a ruthless type of disposition.
You know, just to take a quick aside, I was thinking about Purva Bhadrapada recently in regards to the ages, and we're getting kind of close to Purva Bhadrapada, and you can see how the world is shifting. Just even socially, it's getting in that vein, real heavy.
Oh yeah, brother. Oh yeah. We're in Uttara Bhadrapada, which is the serpent of the deep. And that serpent of the deep is the result of going through the process of Purva Bhadrapada. Because Purva Bhadrapada is a cleansing energy.
Yeah.
It removes whatever in fact, one of the powers of it is to raise a spiritual being.
Yeah. Well, you know what you see. What the main reason why I was looking at that is because it's an interesting paradigm, because it's like we're in a time where the taboos are being removed, right? So it's like,
or the barriers from the taboos are being removed, right? Because taboo is no longer taboo anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's like, okay, if no one's going to shame you for this, society's not going to outcast you for this. Now, what are you going to do?
Right. It's flipped inside out.
Now, what you going to do?
And that's exactly what we're going into.
Yeah.
Going into Purva Bhadrapada. Because Uttara Bhadrapada is traditional. It's steady. It's methodical.
Yeah.
It's deep. It doesn't react. It doesn't change quickly. Purva Bhadrapada is the very opposite.
Yeah.
It changes extremely quick. Energy is volatile. Comes through and says, it's over. Right? Change. My Jupiter is conjunct his ascendant degree. So I know, because Jupiter is in there. So I know what it is. It's just Jupiter gives, it's in its own nakshatra. It's in Aries, which gives it power. And on top of that, it's in the 5th house, even though it rules the 6th and the 3rd. So being there, I understand that the religious aspect expands through different avenues. So I have knowledge of all spiritual systems, right?
Yeah.
Not just one, which wipes away the notion that there is one. There really isn't. I mean, there isn't a right one or wrong one. But nonetheless, right, that Purva Bhadrapada energy is a cleansing energy. It likes to wipe the slate clean, but it takes things to a maximum level of being depraved. It can go to the depths of being dark, right? The symbol of it is a bed cot. See, you have two, the signs comes in, the nakshatras comes in twos. They come in twos a lot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You notice that, right?
Yeah.
Right? Because you have Purva Falguni, right? You have Uttara Falguni, right? You have Purva Ashada, and then you have Uttara Ashada,
Mm-hmm.
Well, Purva Bhadrapada and Uttara Bhadrapada are the same exact way.
Yeah.
Where the front of the death cot, where Uttara Bhadrapada is the end of the death cot.
Well, in Purva Falguni and Uttara Falguni,
Are
well,
a hammock.
is a cot. It's not a death cot, but
It's a hammock.
It's a hammock. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you
Yeah,
see
that's
what I
deep.
mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
there,
yeah.
it's deep when you really start to understand the implications behind it.
Yeah.
Right. So that energy is nothing. It's not someone that is a lighthearted, jovial, carefree type of individual. This is someone that thinks deeply, intensely, right, and profoundly, because Jupiter is the planet of knowledge and wisdom. Right. So this is the last octave of Purva Bhadrapada. See, there's 3 octaves of Jupiter.
Mm-hmm.
The first octave, right, is Purnavasu, right? Next octave is Vishaka. The last highest octave, taking Jupiterian energy into the next realm, which is Pisces, is Purva Bhadrapada.
He got something in all 3 of them.
In fact, he does, right? Which is pretty profound, right? Showing that Jupiterian energy was prevalent in his life, right? Meaning knowledge was something that he was never opposed to,
Yeah.
right? But you have to make a choice, which we'll talk about that inherently, right? But Jupiter is actually in the 12th house, debilitated,
Mm-hmm.
right? But of course, it is canceled, right?
Yeah.
However, Jupiter in the 12th is not canceled, right? That doesn't go away, right? It's just the debilitation goes away, but the placement still remains very much the same.
Yeah.
And so, many times when people have Jupiter in the 12th, and considering that Jupiter is the sublord of Purva Bhadrapada, which is in the 12th, and Jupiter is the ability for us to have an intelligent mind, for us to make clear decisions, right? In Chinese medicine, TCM, Jupiter, right, it affects the eyes, right?
Yeah.
Well, the eyes, right, it's akin to the ability to see. In fact, Jupiter is the organ of intuition, like Jupiter is the planet of intuition, right? Well, it is in the 12th house position, and many times when people have Jupiter in the 12th, and you have to take this with a grain of salt, it literally leads them to a level of trying to achieve moksha, but they have to expend a lot of negative karma in order to get to that Jupiterian realization.
Mm.
And so you can see he was beginning to try to expend that karma if you pay attention.
Yeah.
Right? He was trying to grow into that phase of trying to transition out of the negative elements of the Aquarian disposition, which is the rebelliousness, the element that says, you know what, I'm going to do what I want to do no matter what. You know, Saturn was beginning to try to at least temper to some degree.
Yeah.
Because that's what age does. Saturn is just age. It just means that you realize what it is, right, before you leave if you're wise, and then you do it. That's all Saturn does, right, in a nutshell. So, right, knowing that this particular Aquarian disposition, right, is the bedrock of his life, right? It's the foundation of which everything springs from. That's why the ascendant is so crucial. And so that ascendant, having the understanding that Saturn is there to teach you a grave, serious lesson about life, but also that you're here to be wiped clean. You are here to literally, Purva Bhadrapadas are the type of people that become very fanatic about things. They can take things to the extreme. Because remember, Jupiter is the planet of growth.
Yeah.
Right? And when you ring past that, because remember, it is part of a constituency that is belonging to the Aquarian energy. So even though, yes, Jupiter is the ruler of the Purva Bhadrapada, it still has the Aquarian disposition. And so with that bedrock of life, at some point, like life comes to you for you to change in an instant, or life will change you in an instant, right? To make decisions that say, you know what, I'm no longer that, I'm now this. It is the power to raise a spiritual person.
Yeah.
That's what Purva Rapada produces. The Shakti that it gives you is the ability to produce a spiritually raised person, or a spiritual person in and of itself. And that is not something that is a comfortable process. You know, when you go through the gang culture, right, the gang life, right, and you are trying to detach or to reorient or to reinvent that part of who you are into something that's more beneficial,
Yeah.
right, that becomes a crucifixion, if you will, right? Because you have to die to something.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just showing you this man's life. Like, this is what
Yeah.
it is, right?
Yeah.
And he was coming into a realization that, look, you know what, even though we all got some kind of negative aspect about us, the positive should outweigh the negative. We should be trying to help instead of hurt. We should be trying to correct instead of make ill, right? And that when that time comes, many people leave.
Yeah.
Many people say, okay, you know what, it's like they learn their lesson. Next life, strange as it may be, because you could see that the man was on another, his thought process was not in the gang culture. Rolling 60s was not his first thought of the day, right? When you gang bang, rolling 60s is the first thought of your day, right? Right. Where the homies at? Who we gonna put in some work on, right?
Yeah.
That's the because it becomes a mindset, right? And when you break that, when you shatter that, when you get out of that, and people don't even want to sometimes see you change from that. They want to still see you in that embryonic, right, catatonic state of saying, yeah, like baby boy, right? Perfect example, right?
Yeah.
That state of where you're not becoming a man. You're not challenging yourself. You're not growing beyond the little group that you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
And Aquarians like to be part of groups. They love it. So the gang culture is a group.
Yeah.
Rolling 60s is one of the biggest Crip sets in LA. So it's not like he joined a little group, right? And the Crips is the biggest set in LA. So it's like, as far as black gangs are concerned. So this is an organization, even though it's a criminal organization.
Yeah.
Rahu, Saturn, Aquarius ascended, right? So going deeper into the chart, right? Going deeper, right? So the second thing we look for is the mentality, right, of an individual, the mindset, the undergirding emotional waters and how they flow, right? And so the moon is in the 6th house of angst, frustration, fighting, competition, criminality, enemies, so forth, debt, right?
Yeah.
So you can see an individual with moon in the 6th, and many times they have a very heavy mind. I know I have several people around me I know personally with moon in the 6th house, right?
Yeah.
Now there's some things going on, right, with the moon, because it's part of a conglomerate of planets called a stellium in Western astrology. And Western astrology, I don't kick it to the curb to the point where it's just, there are some valuable things that we can use in understanding things that aren't necessarily articulated in other cultures.
Yeah.
But a stellium is a planet is when a chart has a placement of 3 or more planets. Some people say 4. I would say 3. Right. So we have the moon, which is obviously the mental, right, backdrop of an individual, and see the substratum of your mind. Remember, we did the show on the moon, so we know a lot about what this individual is thinking, functioning, how they're processing things, right? How they remember things.
Yeah.
When your moon's in the 6th, you remember things from an antagonistic point of view, because the moon is set and placed in an area or part of the chart that is antagonistic.
Yeah.
It's problem oriented, right? So this person comes off tougher, right? A little bit more abrasive, right? And it is in Cancer. So yes, the moon is in Cancer. People say, well, what about the moon being in Cancer? Well, the Cancer is just the way the moon works in the 6th house, but it's still in the 6th.
Yeah.
And so for Aquarian ascendants, the 6th house is a very special house because it's ruled by one planet. The 7th house is the same way.
Yeah.
Right? So this is why each particular ascendant has a very specific harmonic resonance and very specific output with regards to planetary placements.
Yeah.
So the moon being in the 6th house is not, that means literally the moon in the 6th house for Aquarius takes the karmic lid off and lets things happen to release the karmic debt to pay it. Because the 6th house is the house of debt.
Yeah, that's a cold piece right there.
So it's not all, we have to, the moon's in, no, does not. And then we're going to go deeper, but just the moon being there allows for those potentialities to happen. Going further, right? Now, this moon is a part of a stellium. Stelliums means, it just basically means that for good or bad, your energy is localized in a specific type of activity in a specific area of life, for good or bad. See, when you have a lot of planets in one placement, it gives you powers, it gives you abilities, it gives you dispositions, it gives you things that you're going to do innately, which we call talents or gifts.
Yeah.
But it also creates a challenge or curse, right? Right? No such thing. Well, there are, but they're rare, right? There are curses, but they're rare. But nonetheless, those planets being localized in an area where it leaves little wiggle room, right, for you to expand your decision-making capacity or capabilities, right? That's what a stellium does. Locks you in, right? And when you locked into something, it's like, you ever know somebody that just watched the same show over and over again and they know every single part of the show? I'm like, man. And like you say something and they're related to the show.
Yeah.
Right? That's a stellium. Right.
That's
right.
funny.
Well, I was going to the store. Well, man, them bloods gonna roll up on you, man. I just said I was going to the store, bro. Right? Like, that energy is constant. It doesn't leave you for any kind of space of thought to process another option.
Yeah.
That's what stelliums do. And the tighter and close knit and near to each other those particular planets are, the less decision making capabilities are allotted. Right? So that means that your range of motion becomes 6th house activities, which is fighting, defending, self-defense, right? And it makes a person tough, though. They can handle a lot. They can deal with a lot of things.
Yeah.
But at the same time, what they produce is a lot of times animosities. And they make enemies quickly because the 6th house is the house of enemies.
Yeah.
So you see, when you begin to understand it from these perspectives, then it makes a lot of sense on how things will play out in Nipsey Hussle's unfortunate demise.
Yeah.
Now this is a case study, right? So he starts off in a Mercury Dasha period, right? Mercury Dasha rules the 8th and it rules the 5th, right? And so it's kind of the thing is Mercury is actually a friend to the ascendant, which is good. It rules a trikona, but also rules a Dastana house or the 8th house.
Yeah.
So that kind of lessens the propensity of Mercury to do really a lot of positive in the chart. It's mixed results.
Mm-hmm.
So there's good and positive and negative within the outcome of those placements and within the outcome of the person's start in life. Many times when people start off in life and they are connected to the 6th, 8th, or 12th house, they're born into some very either unfortunate circumstances such as poverty, illness, being disenfranchised for whatever reason, or being in a place where it's just not suitable for to raise a child.
Yeah.
And so he is born into that Mercury Dasha period. Mercury is in the 5th house in Gemini. So this, of course, it's in the 6th house of Cancer.
Cancer. Yeah.
So again, showing that this person's jump off of life starts off with a disposition of frustration or angst, or let's say not having the full viable avenues that you would want to have to get where you want to go in life. Things can start off that way, right? And again, this Mercury is part of a stellium. See, when you start seeing stellium says, well, when you go through this period, when you go through this period, when you go through this period, and when you go through this period, all of them are going to be contextually within this realm.
Yeah.
And so, very frustrating, right? Because the person, and it can be rewarding too, because the person can be a fighter. So they know how to get themselves out of tough situations. They can endure through things that some people would say, you know what, I'm good, I'm gonna quit the first couple of seconds. And you know, they're stand-up type of individuals. They're not gonna back down.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes that can be a what? Blessing. Sometimes it can be a curse. See, that's how the stellium works.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? But from the Mercury Dasha, he goes into a K2 Dasha. I'm sorry, yes, from a K2, go into a K2 Dasha. K2 Dasha is in the 9th. So this is when father would have been definitely detached, or a prevalent not have in the particular person's life, because K2 is going to deny you of whatever is, wherever it's placed in regards to the type of individuals that are represented in that house. And so each house has a person that it represents. So the 9th house is the father. And so K2 being there during that period of time would have been one that the father was either absent or non-participating in the particular child's life.
Yeah.
Not only that, it's in the 9th house of what we call it's a Barakastana, which is an obstruction house. And it's obstruction houses are houses that get in your way, right? They create obstacles or challenges. Well, for all fixed signs, all fixed ascendants, rather, right? The 9th house is a Barakastana. So the father, absent, or minimal role, or side role, or back role, or role and then no role, and then role and no role. And if you really want to know the truth, that's what happened. Because K2 and Saturn create what's called a Sisyphus complex in a person's chart. If you know what do you know what Sisyphus, who Sisyphus is in the Greek, I guess mythologies or what have you?
Sisyphus?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Sisyphus was cursed, right? And one of the things that what Sisyphus would do is he would take a boulder, right? And he would roll it to the top of the hill or mountain, and then let it roll all the way back down to start to push it back up the mountain again to let it go back down again. And this was a curse that he had to that Sisyphus had to participate in. Won't get into the backdrop of the story, but nonetheless, it means that someone can have a process where they go backward and forward with getting something of value, and then it leaves away.
Yeah.
And that is the relationship, and that is the obstruction that the father had, because if a father is prominently in the child's life, especially a young man, a lot of times the gang culture, those things can be somewhat mitigated or at least changed to a degree. But remember, he is Aquarius ascendant, so he is going to do what he wants to do. And that's Aquarius ascendant is part of that Sisyphus complex, because the ascendant lord is in the 9th in Libra. Very intelligent, very wise as far as streets, very wise individual. Because that Saturn is in the sign of exaltation. It's technically 8 degrees away from exaltation, which is still technically there, but not exactly there. Right. Now, K2 period ensues. He goes through it. He starts his sun Venus dasha, right? And Venus, right? If I'm make sure I'm correct on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Venus dasha, and then from Venus dasha, right? That's when he began to inculcate himself into rolling 60s Crips. Now, how would you think? How would that be? A Venus dasha would facilitate something of a nature that would be like that. Well, remember, Venus's Lord is where?
6th house.
Boom. Right? And Venus is a male, Gemini is a male-oriented sign. It's a masculine sign. So it's going to express, put out, produce externalization of things through the 6th house.
Yeah.
Through a stellium. Now, not only that, because the Lord of Venus is in a position, what is it conjunct? It's conjunct the debilitated Mars. Again, showing the disposition that rebellious backdrop of the physiology, the overall lessons in life come through that Aquarian disposition, and then that Mercury, which rules Venus, and that dasha is going to kick in that particular aspect. And Venus aspects the 11th house, which is social networking, groups and friends. So this is the time when he would have picked up to tried to become a rolling 60s Crip. Things, dashas happen just the way they're supposed to because the time frame yields and produces results.
Yeah.
Now, he's in that dasha until 2017. He enters his sun dasha at that point. Now, some fundamental things that you, of course, want to look at the chart, because this is where we begin to understand what is going to happen here within the next 2 years. So the sun is in a very unfortunate position in the chart. And there are unfortunate positions, folks. There are not positions that just, there are positions that are not what you want to have. There are remedies too. There's things that you can do spiritually to produce outcomes that are actually turn the negative into a positive. But there are degrees in the chart that you just don't want to have planets in. And the one degree that you definitely don't want to have is 29 degrees of any water sign or 1 degree of any fire sign. You just don't want that, folks. And what happens is when these particular planets go into those degrees, which are called Gandanta zones, or zones that become overwhelming, Gandanta is a knot, things that are tied, karmically speaking, right? When things are tied on a knot, karmically speaking, things can literally pull you, control you, or leave you in a space where there's very little control or influence in a situation.
Yeah.
So sun is at 29 degrees, 40 minutes Cancer. That means 20 seconds, and then it would be actually in 0 degrees Leo. So that Gandanta zone is a zone that literally can cause, and the zone, not only the zone, but the nakshatra that it's in, Hashlesha, right? Which is a nakshatra of jealousy, deceit, right? Backstabbing, attachments, not wanting to let something move to the next plateau of things, right? Holding, squeezing something to the
It's
point
the crab in the bucket.
Exactly.
It literally.
Right. You ain't going nowhere, right? Excellent epithet, right, for that. The crab in the bucket. Exactly what it is, my friend. And so that's exactly the unfortunate situations that you find yourself in when you deal with that criminal element called gangbanging. I mean, it's not right. It doesn't make it right. It's not something that I'm comfortable even want to imagine about a young, talented, intelligent brother that's on a path of potential spiritual growth to be met with something that is something that he could have avoided had he just done what Purva Bhadrapada designed him to do and switch and remove all of those things from the processing and the dealings of his everyday life. Doesn't mean you have to leave the hood alone, but you just leave those individuals alone or those areas alone that you know are problems that could potentially be problematic.
Yeah.
Especially if you're on a level or a plateau where you're now being recognized worldwide. That raises people's animosity. That's going to call out hidden enemies.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
Now, they come out the woodworks, right? Now, the strange thing is that Mercury being in Cancer in that particular position. Remember, Mercury rules Venus, the dasha period that he was in previously.
Mm-hmm.
So Mercury being in that position in Cancer in that house literally says that you can have people that are right around you that are there to create your demise. That to me gives me goosebumps because there's strange things. The case I know people say in the hood like it's this, that, and the other. People know in the hood, yeah, but there's things people don't know in the hood that other people don't want you to know if they don't want you to find out.
Well, I mean, in a similar kind of situation, I mean, just recently, maybe within the past year or so, the details of Tupac's murder has been revealed, and everybody in that whole area knew it the whole time. They knew everything. They knew who it was, who was in the car, who did this and who that. They just didn't say anything about it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just keep your mouth shut.
Yeah.
And when there's big homie calls, what you gonna do? How can you avoid it? And when the thing is that you can you're touchable,
Mm-hmm.
right? See, if he was my client, right? If I'd have got to him in time enough, I'd have been like, look, man, there's a lot of enemies in your midst, right? I'm telling you, there's people right next to you, man, that are not your friends. And in gang culture and gang life, that's common, right?
Yeah.
A lot of killings come from inside the same hood, the same set, from people that have issues with one another. So you would think that it would be locked tight and elbow to shoulder to elbow because we're from the same set, but no. A lot of times those are the ones that kill you too. And someone from his set, rolling 60s, apparently, and I would say apparently because we don't know, I don't know what's behind that motive of him doing those things. It's just there's some strange things that I'm sorry, it's just not closed case to me on this particular call. And getting deeper into really looking at what happened, right? Remember, now he leaves the Mercury, the Venus dasha period, right, and goes into the Sun dasha. Now, where's the Sun? It's in the 6th house.
Yeah.
So this stellium, right, is locked him into this vector of karma. I mean, that's clearly seen, right? All the planets we've talked about so far linked to the 6th house some kind of way. It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
But remember, the 8th lord is there with the sun, with the moon, and with Mars. The 8th lord, or the 8th house, is the house of executions, the house of sudden murder, the house of assassinations. And it's via Mercury, which is a friend. See, Mercury is unassuming. But who is Mercury sitting right next to?
Mars.
Within 25 seconds. That means Mercury becomes Mars. in his
25
execution of
minutes.
things. 25 minutes, excuse me, 25
Yeah.
minutes. That's intense. Now, the sun is at 29 degrees, 40 minutes. So that means that during the sun dasha, some karmic major event is going to come about.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, man. It just, to me, it's just like, wow, like really, the moon is conjunct the sun, but the moon is sitting 6 degrees from Mercury. All of these planets are in the constellation Ashleisha between 9 degrees. That's a tight stellium. And they get tighter, but that's pretty tight.
Yeah.
Mars is debilitated. Mars is our hair triggers. When Mars is debilitated, it becomes a hair trigger. Things can react. People can react in an instant. And he had this disposition as well.
Yeah.
You just didn't see it, but in gang life and gang culture, this becomes an act. It becomes a boon, a gift, because then people know you're not to be toyed with.
Well, they had something that came out like maybe like a year before he transitioned. What they call it, the victory slap.
Right.
Yeah, it's a couple. They got a couple little footage of TMZ and different people catching them out there, and you see.
He did slap that one guy though, didn't he?
Yeah, at the awards.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, man. I'm not saying that the brother deserved it because of that. None of that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying energy is energy. And when you do things based on an energy that you're following through without a conscious understanding of what's going on, you get caught slipping, as they say. Right?
Yeah.
Because you think your friends are they're your enemies. And it's unfortunate. You had a lot of people that really wanted to have something to do with Nipsey Hussle, whether it be Big U, Cowboy, who else? Who else? I mean, even the brother that that is charged with the murder, right? He wanted to be a part of Nipsey, according to whatever is stated, according to conjecture, according to what's out there in the streets. He wanted to be put on by Nipsey.
Mm-hmm.
So again, someone portraying themselves as an associate, an ally, right? But all the while, there to do you bodily harm. Now, this combination is further exacerbated, folks, right? And these things line up so well and such that it's strange, right? That this particular kind of positioning it's like almost, I don't want to say it's fated, but it seems to be in a way and such, because there are times when it's just fate. I mean, you can't argue it. John F. Kennedy, that's fate. It's in his chart. It's literally there. John Lennon, Malcolm X, right? These are fated existences where these things transpire. I mean, it's unfortunate, but it is deep because it shows the profoundness of this science, and that we can see these things happen not only in hindsight, but if you're wise, with foresight. And that sun being right at that hairline degree in the dasha period, that, in fact, I didn't even look at the transits of the date, but I do know this. It was March 31st, right?
Yep. March 31st.
Right. The sun was in Pisces, right? Probably 15 degrees.
I think I got that queued up right here. Yeah. Yep.
So sun's in Pisces.
At 16 degrees.
Mm-hmm. Mars is in the 4th house, squaring. Moon's in the 12th. Venus, Mercury is in the 1st. Sun's at 16 degrees. Yeah, this is just an unfortunate. It is really unfortunate because the transits, whereas Rahu at 12 degrees and Venus is at 22 degrees.
Yeah, Rahu's Punavasu, Rahu, 28 degrees, transit-wise.
I'd have to look at his astrological Varga to go deeper because the transits really don't facilitate very many negative impacts when you look at it.
Well, let's see. So fifth house got 20 points.
What's the house with the low? That's pretty low.
Yeah. Fifth house. Fifth house has the lowest points.
There it is. Yeah, that's unfortunate. That's really unfortunate. And that Lord, even the fifth Lord, anytime it's impacted, it's gonna have a recompense. So that dasha period, that date, and I'm pretty sure it was a sun.
It was Sunday.
It was a Sunday on a Sunday, and sun is and sun is at 29 degrees.
What up? Is that 29 degrees in transit too?
No. 16 degrees
16,
transit. Yeah. But again, right, and even that quincunx is there too. Sometimes those quincunxes really you have to look at those because they really do impact. That sun being quincunx Saturn definitely can create challenges.
Yeah.
Right. Definitely create challenges. And then Saturn and Jupiter were quincunx. They were quincunx or 6/8 to Mars and Mercury as well because they were in Sag. So those quincunxes can create challenges. In fact, quincunxes are probably the worst transits because they come out of nowhere. Yeah, so that's that quincunx 6/8 for that particular for Sun with Saturn and then Saturn and Jupiter with the planets with the stellium in the sixth house. That's a simultaneous double quincunx that can create a major shift in life. Definitely. So yeah, sometimes it takes a little bit, but quincunxes are not readily seen. That's why they're a 6/8 position because they come out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
So on that day, what was I want to see what the exact dasha scheme looks like for that all the way to the fourth level. Sun, Jupiter. No. Sun, Rahu. Yeah. Sun, Rahu, Venus, Moon. Right there. K2. Ouch. Yep. There it is. Sun, Rahu, Venus, Moon, K2 on that day. And then it switches to Venus. Yeah. Yep. That's where it is, man. And then Moon is the facilitator for those. Yeah. And Moon's in the sixth house, man. The enemies. Wow. And then Saturn. See, here's another major piece. Saturn aspects that particular stellium, and then Mars aspects Saturn. So they're both aspecting one another, and that's a tough aspect. So it's unfortunate, but it's fated. Whenever you study that 29th degree of any water sign, things are fated. Or fire sign, right? So remember, we saw Malcolm was at 29 degrees Jupiter Sag. Now that's not a Gandanta zone, but it's still a Sandhi zone, which is still not a place where planets typically should be.
Yeah.
So I would definitely, say that this brother's life, as interesting and as thought provoking and as um, truly transformative. Because when I say transformative, for a young man to take himself up, take his talent and to make it and parlay it into an empire, I would say is a definite transformation. But the unfortunate thing is that his process of transformation was cut short by those karmic things that kind of pull us back, those people that we typically think we're there to typically try to help are the ones that usually stab us in the back. And that really can be seen with that Mercury in the sixth house, in that stellium. It's just, it's right there, plain as day.
Yeah.
So I want to say to the brother, rest in power, brother. Rest in peace.
Indeed.
May the next journey be one where you pick up where you leave off and you hit the ground running, where you can get to that final spiritual realization that you were intended to get. But much blessings to his family, much blessings to the people that follow Nip and his fans. I do like a lot of Nipsey's music. It's definitely now really when people pass, it shows their talents even more because they're missed and they're gone, and there's no more that you can get from that person. So I definitely got a few songs in my playlist from Nip. So he's definitely remembered in this particular neck of the woods.
Indeed. So before we check off real quick, I did want to get one thing, because I already know they're gonna ask. What would you say propelled him into stardom?
Well, there's a few things that we can look at, right? First of all, he was in a Venus Dasha period.
Yeah.
Right. And Venus is the planet of music, artistry. Anytime we say music, hip hop, singing, acting, right? All those things. Venus is in, right, the fifth house.
Yeah.
And the fifth house is a house, as we've stated before, is a house that produces things that will outlast who you are.
Yeah.
Whether it be children, whether it be great literary pieces, whether it be great a great musical catalog, right? And he will be remembered. In fact, they say he's the Tupac of this generation, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to take that away from him. I definitely would concur. He was seeming to be on that particular path.
Yeah, because Tupac, he didn't. I mean, he the thing that I guess separates Tupac was the work ethic. He just recorded so much material. You know what I mean? That you look at them different, but I mean, when you look at career spans, they're about the same.
Yeah, actually, he has a longer career than Pac.
Yeah.
From the perspective of his musical beginnings, right? Because Pac is a flash in the pan. Pac came out in 90. He was with Digital Underground in the early 90s. So Pac's first album didn't hit till I think 93. And then in 96, he's gone. Hermes is around for a lot longer, but he didn't have the have the star power that Pac had. Right?
Yeah.
Pac has star power. Right? When you have star power, when you hit that movie screen, things change. But Pac, I think, they're very different in who they are. But what the positivity outweighed the negativity is what I see with both of those brothers. They both were trying to do the right thing, right? Hindered by the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Right? And so, strangely enough, right, through that particular kind of mentality of trying to help those people that you love is usually the ones that do you in. Like Pac didn't have any business kicking that man in the head and doing that stuff, but he was trying to help somebody out or some dudes that he's running with, thinking that wasn't even He should have never been there. Right?
Mm-hmm.
He's probably still be alive today. Right? But again, right, and we can definitely look at Pac's chart, right? Because I think we talked about him a little bit, right? But you know, those talents, man, they can take you to high places, but the things that are baggage, the things that were there before, it is there to bring you back down. And you have to make that clean sweep. You have to literally die to that part of who you were in that life in order to be resurrected as someone that now is going to play a viable role in the development of your people and yourself. You know, and he was at that precipice. You could see it, right?
Yeah.
But you know, the fifth house is the house of talents, right? And they're all houses of talents. Each house will produce a talent, right? Some people have talent of fighting, some people have talent of teaching, whatever it is, right? But the fifth house is a house of creative abilities in the sense that it gives you multiple talents. So Venus being there literally gave the brother that gift to really be able to do music, right? It's in Purnavasu, and Purnavasu actually also is a musical nakshatra, right? It actually deals in things that kind of go backward and forward. It's that part of Gemini that can literally, right, return and then return again and then do things to the point where they gain mastery, right? So he was picking up that momentum. He was gaining that popularity. His music was becoming. I mean, it was just right when he's about to spark off. That's what happens. Pop Smoke, similar situation, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I haven't looked at his chart,
But not similar in the sense he just made a mistake, right?
Yeah.
That was a mistake, and he's a 20-year-old young man not paying attention, and that's when you get caught slipping.
Mm-hmm.
But nonetheless, yeah, definitely, Venus in the fifth house will produce those propensities, you know, with regards to creative abilities, and being in the sign of Gemini. Remember, Gemini in the European / tropical kind of perception, Gemini is two. It holds a musical note, a musical instrument, and it holds a club.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type deal, right? But it does hold a musical instrument, right? And so that Gemini in disposition also can produce that mutability creativity, because it's a mutable sign, right?
Mm-hmm.
So definitely that's where he would get his propensities. And the dasha periods start right in hand and sync. He runs through that when he begins to get into that music field.
Indeed.
One thing I also wanted to show is that remember we said the fifth house is children, right?
Yeah.
Well, first child is a what?
Girl.
And what's sitting right there in the fifth house?
Venus.
Boom.
Yeah.
Right.
I know about that.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah. There it is. Right? So you see, right? Yeah. You can always see, right, what that looks like.
Yeah.
Little small things, just to see the confluence of the chart in its entirety, right? Yeah, that definitely is definitely got an import there. Second child was a boy. Sun is in Cancer, right? But Sun is a male planet.
Mm-hmm.
Second house, second child is a boy. The ruler or the planet that's there is always going to take precedence over the ruler, right? The ruler is the second piece we look at, right? And in that stellium, Mars is the last planet, which then brings up the rear, which also shows the propensity for a boy, right? So again, showing that as well. So you can see this is definitely Hermes' chart. So we'll leave it at that. And anything else, brother, you want to drop on in, or you noticed or took heed of?
No, I think we sliced this up, man. I think this is a I mean, it's like I said at the beginning, it's a case study on destiny. What we come here to, to experience and, in a lot of cases purify, and stuff like that. So yeah, I think we definitely drove that point home. Indeed, it's a very, 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 very interesting chart, to
It
say the
is,
least.
to say the least.
You know, it's unfortunate, but I echo what you say. Want his spirit to travel well and reincarnate into the right situation, just take it to the next level.
Indeed.
Indeed. All right. But with that being said, I want to thank you all for tuning in to episode 21 of the Cosmic Convos podcast. We're getting close to 50 episodes here, man.
Yeah, man, it's rolling up here.
Indeed. So like always, we definitely appreciate all the support. Another big shout out to our patrons out there, and again, for people know, if you want to, come and contribute to the show, provide input, get questions answered and get access to, new things and things that we haven't released to the public yet, definitely go up there and on Patreon and, hit us up, man. We got some good packages and different things out there that you can definitely benefit from. Also, make sure you follow us on Instagram. On Instagram, we're at Cosmic Convo. And on, on Instagram, that's where you can find, our, get to the website and be able to get your chart or be able to check us out on the different platforms, right? So like we're on Facebook, right? So you can follow us on Facebook at Cosmic Convos Podcast. That's one spot that you will see the video episode, and also we're on YouTube. You can just search Cosmic Convos, or like I said, the link is right there. Apple, Spotify, podcast platform called Stitcher. We're on there. We're on Google Play, SoundCloud, and we'll be on another one real soon as well. They have a very, very stringent review process.
So I'm about to say it's a stringent, yeah.
Yeah. They take like 4 weeks to get back at you, but
right.
We'll be announcing that pretty soon as well. So, you get with us on Instagram, you'll get to all that information, and you'll be able to, get your astrological knowledge together. Indeed. So, Brother Rod, if you're good, you don't have anything else to say, man.
No, brother, I think we chopped this one up pretty good.
Indeed. So, we'll be back here next week with another great episode, and we got something different again. To the patrons, man. This is another option out there, so this is going to be interesting as well. So definitely stay tuned to that. All right, but we'll be back same time, same place next week, and we thank you all for tuning in, and take it easy out there, and we're out. Peace.